Just about some figures of the conference and discussing about the future of CPP. So the PC chairs, as you may know, were Nick and me this year, and Catherine maybe arrived or will be there today, and Yannick, maybe Yannick is in another here. Okay, and Yannick will have been the conference chair, so trying to find sponsors and make things work with the ACM. So this year we had 178 registrations, which, as you can see on the graph, is the most popular CPP session ever. So it's good, it's great. Maybe because of being in France or in Rennes, or maybe because of something else, I don't know. But that's a good thing. In terms of submission, it has also been slightly higher than the previous best conference, which was chaired by Catherine, was there, yeah, in 2020. So, as you can see, after during the lockdown and everything, there have been a slightly decreased number of submissions, but this year we had a high number, and we managed to keep the quite well-balanced number of accepted papers. So we had 75 submissions with a light double-blind reviewing. So compared to the 51 submission we had last year at Popper Denver. And we accepted, so we decided to accept 27 papers, which make the program quite dense. So that's why, for example, the business meeting is in the middle of the conference, which is pretty unusual, but it was hard to fit the program with 27 papers in 2 days and 2 invited talks, but we managed to keep something quite balanced, I hope. And so we had 2 months for reviewing and discussing the paper, and before that 7 days for bidding. So I hope it has not been too high workload for the PC members. And because we had more submission than expected, we also allowed more external reviewing to help PC members to get nice expertise on all papers. Oops, what happened? Yeah. So regarding the kind of proof assistant, so we usually do kind of analysis of which proof assistant are used in each paper and the kind of balance between accepted and rejected paper, just to give an idea, even if it's not considered at all when we accept or not paper. And so as you can see, it's almost well balanced. So for some reason this year we had maybe a bit less. The acceptance rate for lean paper is a bit lower than for rocks paper. So this is maybe something we can try to analyze and to improve. So maybe people from the rock community are more aware of the expectation of the way we write papers for CPP or something. So this is, I'm just kind of raising some ideas, and the idea is to discuss during the breaks and during the rest of the conference, because the business meeting is before the end of the conference. We can use the breaks later to maybe try to improve, and maybe you can have suggestions for the next PC chairs to kind of modify a bit the call for paper. We tried already to improve the call for paper 2 years ago with so Brigitte and Sandrine tried to improve it, and we did another run with Sandrine last year and with Nick again this year, but maybe there are still improvements to make really clear the expectation of the conference with respect to the way we write paper. And there's not that, I mean, you could have expected maybe more lean submission than in previous years, but in the end, we have almost exactly the same number of lean submission than the last CPP session. And regarding the amount of math formalization submission, so it's one third of the submission. And the acceptance rate is exactly the same acceptance rate as the global acceptance rate of the conference. So even if we didn't kind of enforce this by just letting things go, it went quite well balanced. And very few ACDA submissions this year, yeah. So, as it is common now, we have 3 distinguished papers for the conference. So the first one was the talk of Sébastien yesterday. So he's not here today, I think, because he couldn't manage to stay. But let's... So I don't know if someone will be able to give him the kind of sheet of paper, but... Where's it?
We'll email it.
But he's from one, so maybe if I leave it here, I can take it back in some days. Yeah, so the average, so we are allowed to give like accepted papers for 10% of the conference, and so we have two other papers. So the other one was presented yesterday by Jean-Christophe. So yeah, Jean-Christophe is here. And if I understand correctly, it was quite an ancient work, like 5 years ago. So it's it's great to have a distinguished paper after 5 years of hard work. And the last one will be presented later today. And yeah, so it's a paper by Yann and Clément. We have only one printing, but if you need another one.
Thank you.
And I don't know where your talk is scheduled. When is it scheduled? This afternoon. So please come this afternoon to see the nice talk. I also want to thank all the PC members for the hard work. So 2 months is quite short. And everybody tried to do its best to make it work. And we had also this year a lot of external reviewers, and they also make it possible to get quite nice expertise on the paper. So let's thank the external reviewers as well. So we had so many that it didn't even fit on one page, so sorry to make it that fast. But that's also something we may discuss, whether we want to kind of change a bit the way we deal with external reviewers. Do we have an explicit pool of external reviewers as it's done in some conferences up front, or do we kind of select it after the fact? I don't know, maybe something to discuss for the future, because I really do think that it makes sense to also make use of the expertise of the whole community, but it's also in a double-blind process, maybe a bit of tricky thing to do in less than 2 months. So maybe having an official pool of external reviewers up front is also a way to manage conflict a bit in a nicer way. I don't know. And also thank you for Sandrine and all people organizing this year program. And also thanks for the steering committee and Kathleen really managing this with a lot of energy. Thank you, Kathleen, for making this. So as you have noticed, we have now 2 PC chairs and 2 confirmed chairs. And I think that's my next. Sorry, no, that's not my next. And this has been set up by Kathleen in 2020. So I was the PC chair last year with Sandrine. This year I'm doing it with Nick, and Nick will do it next year with someone else. I will tell you in a few minutes. So it's very nice, because then it's really lower. I think Nick can confirm that it's not as hard when you start from scratch. You learn everything, and at the end of the year you kind of lose everything because you start from scratch again. Now this rolling stuff is very nice. And thanks for the AV team. Not managed to make it work even in a rush this morning for Jennifer's talk, but yeah, hopefully they're here, otherwise we'll have been a bit stuck. And a big thanks to all of you. We want to thank JetBrains. It's our only remaining sponsor, so thank you, JetBrains. We still have one. I hope the next conference chair will be able to find others, but we'll see. If you have idea of possible sponsoring, please tell us. And so next year CPP will be co-chaired by Nick and Cyril, right here. And in the same way, so Yannick is staying, and now Sophie will be. I don't know if Sophie. Yeah, Sophie will be sharing with Yannick. So please find new sponsors. And maybe now it's time. So there will be also a business meeting for Popple on Thursday. If you think about stuff later, but you can send, of course, an email to Nick and me. But maybe, what time is it? 10:15. 10:15. So maybe we can try to take few minutes to try to exchange about the reviewing process, about the fact that maybe the area has changed a bit in terms of submission. So do we handle it in some other ways? There are some proposals also to maybe do some collaboration with journal on formalization. Do we do it in the Popple PLDI way, having journal first submission? Do we try to set up other kind of collaboration with journals? It's quite open, but I think we could find better way. And also, do we need to improve or change stuff in the call for paper? Did you find anything to? I mean, we can collaboratively improve this the way we kind of crystallize the expectation of the conference. So even if it's hard to provide expectations, whether it's program verification, math formalization, and so on, having a common guideline is very helpful in reviewing and in writing papers as well. Because sometimes people are submitting papers that are already outside the community and they don't really know the habits of the community. So please, if you have any, yeah, that's mics from the back.
Thank you. So I would like to comment on an item that you put on your previous slide about the importance taken by formalization related to math, where I guess math is taken in a rather broad sense. And
math was just the tags put by authors on their paper.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bit hard, of course, to distinguish between math formalization and program verification, for instance. But let's take it a bit informally. I think this is great, of course, but I think also maybe it raises some issues about what we expect from a paper which is talking about math formalization in a conference like CPP. And also maybe there's a dual question, which is what authors expect from a paper being published in such a venue on their records, because for young researchers in particular, of course, this is going to be kind of an item that they can provide in their applications and so on, so as to explain that they have some visibility in this community. And if we're talking math formalization, then we're talking about welcoming a new community of researchers and scientists and so on. And in math, there's nothing like conferences with proceedings in such a way we have them this week. So we have to be a bit careful about how this publication will be recognized and understood by peers in the communities. And it's great that people working in math formalization are working in math departments and also in CS departments, but unfortunately, these two places don't value the same kind of publication. So this might in part explain why there are some discrepancies between what is expected by PC members and sometimes the way people write their papers. But I think you highlighted the importance of having a common guidelines. I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is possible as of today. Maybe it will become possible later. But for now, I think there is a difference between math papers and computer science papers. That's life. And so maybe we could have a way to welcome the two styles. So you've mentioned this possibility of having a partnership with journals. That could be a way, because the standard for publishing math papers is rather in journals than in conferences. So I think that's something which we should discuss further. But I also think that if possible, we should think about a way to have a stamp which is recognized by both communities. So not only journal papers for math, or not only conference papers for math. I don't know. I just want to comment on this because I've been aware of some unfortunate or not well understood decisions that were taken sometimes with CPP pieces for some formalization. And I'm not discussing if they were right or wrong or whatever. It's just that there are some glitches here that I think we should work on.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, just to build on what Asia is saying a bit, there's a thread going on the CPP steering committee speaking about these issues, and maybe also elaborating on what Nicolas was saying a little bit. One of the themes there is there's a new journal, Annals of Formalized Mathematics, and is there some way in which a paper published at CPP on math could also be published in Annals of Formalized Mathematics, or maybe, and there's some questions there about whether it should be only published in the Annals of Formalized Mathematics or published both here and there, and maybe from what you're saying, some way of having it being presented here as well as appearing in a journal might address some of your concerns.
The editorial board of that journal has discussed that.
I see.
Certainly open to the proposal.
Is that you?
I'm part of it. So is Asia for that matter. So she's
And we have one of the editors.
Hi, so yes, I'm one of the two editors-in-chiefs of the Annals of Formalized Mathematics, and as Georges and Asia said, we have been discussing the opportunity of trying to set up a collaboration with CPP during our last editorial meeting. So I think that what came up is that, as Asia said, the communities are somewhat different. So we would be so the journal first model is probably what would look like the most efficient for people publishing in the Annals of Formalized Mathematics. So if CPP agrees, the idea would be that papers that had been already been accepted in the Annals of Formalized Mathematics at a certain date, like for instance the submission date or whatever, they can be accepted as CPP papers. And then, if so, they can receive a stamp as being, well, they had already been published in the AFM, and also be awarded like recognition from the CPP community, so that people a little bit in the border of the T communities, they can get recognition both from the mathematical and from the CS communities.
Yves?
Seen many people.
Okay, I don't think it works because accepting papers in a journal has its own numbers, and accepting papers in a conference has a problem of you have a limited number of slots for the conference. It's not the same model. But that was not the point I wanted to discuss. There's another thing you have to prepare for, is the advent of using artificial intelligence in combination with formal verification to produce mathematical results. And this will may provoke a sharp increase in submission of poor quality papers that are made by people who just think that running the computer is doing their job. And so maybe you will have something to prepare for there, and there are incentives. So there are incentives to make large libraries like MathLib to be developed, because there's going to serve as input to the AI movement. So there are incentives for that. These people who are doing this job need recognition. So we have a lot of pressure for a lot more publications, and maybe CPP is not going to be up to will just be crushed by the number of submissions that will appear. So maybe you will have to think about it. I don't have a solution, but I just wanted to...
But that's why the call for paper was also a way to make it clear and to avoid this kind of submission easily, because they don't just...
I didn't look at the call for paper. If I can go... yeah, so maybe I should clarify a few things. The first is that the call for paper already includes some text explaining what the the standards we apply for formalization papers in general, but also for formalization of mathematics. And it's about, well, not explaining just the mathematics, but also why the formalization is interesting. So this should already, and this was what was done by Brigitte and for previous chairs. Because not every formalized mathematics paper is necessarily an interesting CPP paper. Also, we want to have talks that are interesting, so I don't think we can open the floodgates to any formalized mathematics paper. I guess what might make sense, if we want to have this journal first, to offer this journal first option for formalized mathematics, is indeed to have some cutoff date when people are made aware of this option of presenting at CPP, not publishing at CPP, but presenting at CPP. For that they would have to apply with an extended abstract in addition to their paper that pretty much should explain what the talk would be like. And then based on that, the CPP program committee will decide whether that's an interesting talk for CPP or maybe not. Maybe that's really just mathematics, and it's fine if it just gets published in the journal. So this is the current working proposal we have at the steering committee level and the ongoing discussions, but of course we're welcome to more feedback.
I was wondering if you were thinking about doing different categories, as it was done in many conferences, to have pearls, which are system descriptions, which have a less stringent constraints on the number of pages, or a different set of rules for writing formalized math papers. Or would that satisfy both communities, actually?
Yeah, maybe just a brief response to that. I mean, the current call for papers, it has some phrasing that says if you have a formalized mathematics paper, or any paper for that matter, you need to demonstrate in your paper some, have some insights about how the proof assistant helped or hindered you, or some innovation that you had to make in the formalization style. And so this I think is where, I mean, if it was a paper that just was, I formalized theorem X until Y and that was it, this is usually not enough for acceptance. So that's the main guideline we offer now. Maybe
Sebastian's presentation and paper was very enlightful in the way we kind of perceive this kind of math formalization paper. It was really about, not about I developed something for MATLib and that's it, but really about an insight on a specific point.
Yeah, but if there are other guidelines that we could use to, enrich this sort of prompt to an author and to the reviewers, that would be nice.
Just one word of clarification. First of all, this so what Mathieu raised is certainly something we also consider at the end of formalized mathematics. So for papers to be accepted in our journal, the whole point is that the mathematics must be interesting and the formalization must be interesting. So it's a journal of formalized mathematics. But just to clarify, we were not proposing anything automatic. Not that if a paper has appeared in the mathematics, it should automatically be accepted as CPP. Nothing like. The only point was that we observed a certain discrepancy between ways papers are written for mathematicians and ways papers are written for NCS conferences. So the problem is that often colleagues have the conundrum of either publishing a paper in a math journal or trying to publish this in a CS style. And the idea is that if the content is interesting, even if it rather weighs the mathematical style, it might be a good fit for CPP. So this is there, provided, of course, the PC members considered it interesting and relevant for the conference and so on. It's more a matter of style rather than the content. The content must be accepted by the board, of course. I mean, the CPP, it would not be a matter of discussing this.
Clément? Yeah.
So I wanted to ask how we feel about tool papers, because one thing that has happening this year is that CAV has changed the way they do tool papers pretty radically, from novel tools presented to the community to retrospectives on already popular tools. And I wonder whether we should make any changes in reaction to that.
Yeah, this sounds like it would be a good thing to have at CPP too. And I think my impression is that the current call for papers would not sort of discourage you from submitting such a paper to CPP.
Yeah, I think there's explicitly a mention of tools as one of the categories,
right?
But it's as a full paper, and other conferences have like short papers for tool papers.
Yeah, in terms of categories, I mean, we also accepted this year a paper that whose title says Proof Pearl, although we don't have an explicit category for a proof pearl. So we judged this paper, the explicit instruction to the reviewers was disregard the fact that this is in the title and just evaluate it as a regular paper.
Guillaume, yeah?
Yeah. Something I would like to suggest to consider too for the steering committee. There are several other conferences that are using a two-round process during the year, and one advantage of the system is that it allows for a reviewing process that is closer to journals, that it allows for major revision for papers that were submitted during the first round. In this case, the program committee can consider that the paper may be worth publishing, but is definitely not in a sufficiently good, and authors are encouraged to resubmit during the second round as a major revision. So that's something that may be considered.
Yeah, I mean, one challenge there is that we have a pretty tight timeline, especially to fit with co-location with Popple. So having a second round there would, maybe we'd have to revise the timeline substantially to have an earlier submission in the spring or something.
Yeah, it will be ready 6 months before.
Yeah. 6 months before.
Sure.
Wait.
Maybe I can answer to this. It's not a crazy idea, but we should also consider that there is also ITP, and there is a chance that we would directly clash with ITP, and I don't think this is necessarily helpful for the community.
I will follow up on Kathleen. For ITP, the fact that there is ITP and CPP was already a choice to have 2 opportunities per year on similar topics. But what Guillaume is describing is a different need that is not catered neither by ITP nor by CPP. So maybe the 2 conferences could discuss about this possibility and have both have this approach, but it's also a change in the social fabric of the conference, because you ask people a different kind of work in the PC. So
Actually, I'm curious if ITP is also having a similar discussion with the Annals of Formalized Mathematics. No?
Not to my knowledge. I'm in the steering committee. I've not seen that.
Would it make sense?
I think so.
And do you think we should kind of try to co-discuss with ITP to? It's difficult. But I think anyway, it's. Thank you for the nice discussion. It's already 10:30ish.